Welcome to Synchronicity. You are tuning in to the mind of Mercury to tap in to our podcast that is all about how nothing is a coincidence. Thus, everything is intentional. How do you feel about that? Let's talk about it. And when I say that everything is intentional, I literally mean that it would be impossible for you as a spirit who intends to be aware of its own circumstances. It would be impossible for you to be able to see anything as, again, a spirit who is intending to be aware if other spirits who did not intend to be aware did not connect with themselves in an intentional way to create something that then stands the test of time in physical reality. So that's where no matter what you see in physical reality, every single object is energy vibrating at a certain frequency. Every single thing, every single earth is air being watered by a certain fire. Right? We're all connected by water, but we're all separated by our fire. We're all connected by our vibration. All of our hearts are beating, but our hearts are not beating at the same frequency because we all have our own idea of what freedom is. We all have our own idea of what it means to be completely in heaven with our spirit. That's why I'm here as Hermes, giving us all of this recontextualization in the English language and just flipping the script to show everyone how we're already in heaven alone. We have to create hell so that we can share our heavens with each other, because heaven is very simply having extra space to support your individual imagination. So as a spirit, when you have extra space to support your ego, your imagination, you feel like you're in heaven. This is the difference between the number 1 and the number 10. Heaven is you feeling like you are supported by yourself because you are experiencing yourself as the number 1, right? You are experiencing yourself as an individual and you desire to make your egos real, right? As in you desire to make your desires real. You have these higher fire vision lights of what you want your imagination to look like in physical reality. So then this is where you as a spirit make a body that allows you to channel your imagination into physical reality, right? So anything that you see, anything you're connecting with is then an extension of how your imagination communicates with itself. How does your awareness build a mind? That's going to inform everything that you perceive. Every single thing in physical reality that you perceive is only going to then matter, even though it had to matter to something else to even be turned into matter. But you're not going to be able to connect with this matter, and thus this matter won't matter to you if you are not communicating with yourself in a way that allows you to see said matter. Right? So a phone doesn't matter to me unless I was taught by the people who made the phone what a phone does. Money does not matter to me. As an indigenous person, you literally cannot buy land from me because that's my land. And that's land that I know that spirits are creating so that we can connect freely. For you to come and think that you can buy it from me shows me how disgustingly lost you are. Like, you're looking at me thinking I have authority over something just because something trusts me enough to have authority over it. Like, that's where this land would have called me away from my space so that I could nurture it and grow things on it. Versus you, as a white supremacist, the complete opposite of me is Chase, where you're like, oh, I need that land, so let me make up an imaginary concept so I can make the people who make that land possible work for me. And I'll just make them work for money. When money doesn't matter to me, I made up money so that I could steal this land from these indigenous peoples. right? So it's literally this imagination extension thing, because then these people who support the genocide of Native Americans, they claim to love Jesus, they claim to be Christian, they claim to be super holy and super spiritual, right? That's just where we see that their spirituality is reliant on eating indigenous peoples and cannibalizing indigenous peoples and consuming everything that quote unquote black people, indigenous peoples, and when I say indigenous, again, going in indigit. So that's what black is. Black as in no one can see you, because white is you're seen. So white means that you are outside of your space and you are showing who you are inside of your space. Whereas black means that you are inside of your space and you are connecting with yourself. Right? Like we've already been through that. That's the esoteric difference between the colors white and black. So then when spirits start to resonate with these terms, this is how they play out. Where once a spirit believes that it's white, everything associated with whiteness is about consuming reality so that you can be seen. Right? Like, oh, there's a tree there, but I want to make money off of that tree. So let me cut down the tree and build a whole system out of it where I can use all of my own made up logical ideas to make myself important inside of nature. Right? So this is the difference between white supremacists and indigenous spirits, where indigenous spirits are literally creating the nature that allow white supremacists to even be possible. Like a white supremacist is literally only able to connect to the simulation because an indigenous person was spiritual. But then because they're lost in physical reality, they need to connect to the simulation in a way that's like, let me consume Tahuti's creations. Let me consume everything Hermes made. Let me eat everything Symmetry made. And it's literally the difference of a creator versus consumer mindset, where creators are indigenous. Creators are in their water energy, right? Like that's what water is. We see that fire is not creative. The desire to create comes from fire. So fire is passionate about creating, but it's so passionate about creating, it's consumptive. So that's the difference. When you as a spirit have your first imagination, when you're looking at your idea, that's your fire, right? Like that's your fiery frequency of light that is too hot to touch. So your ego is always too hot to touch. This is the point of you having different parts of yourself as a spirit, and how you can observe them better once I bring awareness to it, right? Because you as the observer, you are the spirit. You are nothing. This is the point of meditating. The more you meditate, the more you fast, the more you see that you are literally nothing. You're operating from nothing. You're operating from a space of complete space, like no imagination. So then this is where the moment you imagine yourself, that can only ever express your circumstances. So now you as nothingness are observing your one and your zero. And really you're observing how your one expresses your zero. So once you literally as a spirit became aware of your circumstances and aware that you're nothing, you immediately create fire. You immediately create that first brightest white light that wants to be seen. That's like, oh wait, but I'm something. I hate being nothing. And now you're shining your individuality out. Here's the thing. It's too individual. No one can see you but you when you're just out in space alone. Right? So this is the point of fire turning into water. So fire is consumptive because fire wants to create, but it's not connecting with itself. Fire is only focused on projecting outward and consuming everything around it. So this is what your imagination is. Your imagination is always consuming space. This is why we see that white supremacists, their imagination is only reliant on raping, murdering, and enslaving people outside of themselves so that they can consume more space outside of themselves. And then they're going to come up with whack-ass concepts like, there's not enough space on the earth. We have overpopulation. And now Bill Gates is here like, we need to inject everyone with these mystery fluids so that we can take the population of the planet down because it's overpopulated. Like, it's insane. It's all literally white supremacist ideas. Like, we're really in here because it's truly the physical versus spiritual. It's like that simple, as far as just making it as simple as possible. Like when there's two brains in the universe, as far as like There's creators and consumers. There's indigenous and white supremacists. There's spiritual and there's physical. So spirits who live in spiritual reality, they create physical reality, so that spirits who live in physical reality can consume spirituality. You see how that works? So like, I'm here in physical reality because I got called here to share what I'm normally creating from my spiritual reality. But because people are so lost in physical reality down here, I have to get lost in the same physical things as everyone else. And that's the point of then making a body, me riding a wave, being trapped in a vibration, everything we've covered in Dissect the Dialect even. Where it's about, oh, why are we trapped in a vibe? Right? Because the only way we can actually share our individuality with others is to consume the same creations. So this is the natural progression of life in terms of how we as spirits use our imagination to create the circumstances where we can connect our imagination with other individuals who might have similar imaginations. And at the very least, and the thing is, we can never see each other's imaginations. That's the point of the vibration, right? So when you have your own fire, you have your individual idea of who you are, and it's too hot for anyone to touch, so it just exists out in the middle of space. Like, you're just out in the middle of space, just nothingness, and it's constantly spreading. The moment you connect with yourself, you've created water. So that's the point of you as a spirit. When you look at your ego, you're looking at your imagination, and you're getting wet from it. You're getting turned on from how hot your fire is, right? That's then where you create water, literally. You create the soul. You create your watery realm, your pool of water that encompasses your fire. And this is literally what the universe then looks like, where a star or the sun, right? Think about the solar system as a concept. This is what the solar system looks like. So you as a spirit being your own universe, you are the center of your own universe. You are the center of your universe, your universe, as in your universe is you playing music with yourself. And if you're going to fit into your song, you need to have a part in your song. So this is why anything inside of the universe is vibrating, and it has some kind of harmonic musical frequency, because the only way that you could connect with the water is to vibrate. So then this is where we get vibration being the main thing of life. Everything vibrates at a certain frequency because it's first a space creating a frequency that then wants to connect this frequency with other frequencies, right? So now we can be here in a human body or just any kind of body, and we can hear a bunch of vibrational frequencies all at once. And there's so many that we can't hear, right? Because they're out of our range of hearing. So then that shows like there's infinite vibrational frequencies. It's just literally about which ones are you meant to relate with based on the body that you're creating. This is how I love spirituality, bro. Because I can't imagine anything else. Like, bro, I build myself from the inside out every single day. And that's what this podcast, that's what today's episode is all about. Building oneself from the inside out every single day, even when the things that one builds gets torn down. And this is big 8 energy. This podcast is about to, I'm going to be vulnerable on this one. I won't be too vulnerable, but I've been having the most Scorpio time this Scorpio season. And I won't share too much of my personal stuff because I know it's not, I guess, couth, is that the word? It's not couth for me to do that, or it's not something about, I don't know, professionalism versus like connection. Because of course, when you're naturally connecting with someone, this is the thing with spirits, right? Like literally, this is how we can see the truth comes out in all TV shows and nature and just everything. Because the point is, a spirit isn't using water to express themselves if they're not going to be able to show us who they are. Right? So like the whole point of you as a spirit being in a vibration at all. The whole point of you as an individual space, being aware of your body inside of the universe, is so that you can ride the same wave, the same vibration as all those other bodies, right? So once you believe that you are this body, you are now locked in the vibration. You are locked in the wave that all the other bodies who are inside that simulation are locked in as well. This is how relatability happens. So then this is like the whole dichotomy of life, like the polarization of, we know that all of us as spirits are individuals, but none of us can exist without connecting. Okay. So the idea of God is like there's supposed to be one individual who rules over all of us. And that's only ever some white supremacist Jewish Christian mentality that is only meant to justify the further slavery and brutal genocide and rape of indigenous peoples. Because now these people who can look at indigenous individuals can look at these literally just beautiful natural people who are fasting longer than Jesus and are just connecting with themselves and happily creating nature. They need to project onto these indigenous peoples, these indigenous individuals, that they are part of something that they're not. So now no matter what I say as an indigenous person, because you are conquering my land, you believe that you can do whatever you want to me because I'm an extension of your God. And because I did not accept the sacrifice of the son of your God, now you get to rape, murder, and build a system off of my continued rape and murder and make America great out of that. All because you don't feel like you're God, which is why you look at me fasting and you tell me that it doesn't matter how much I fast. I could fast longer than Jesus, but I still need to sacrifice myself to Jesus, or else you're going to do what you want to with me. So it's just either way, you're going to do what you want to with me. Because the moment I've sacrificed myself to your language and your concept of Jesus, like it's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. Either way, you're consuming my land and raping my mind and telling me that I'm not creative, so that I'll use my creative abilities to create a world that is only consuming me. All for white people. All for white people who hate themselves, by the way, which is obviously like the only reason why they could possibly use an idea like money or anything made up to justify the slavery of people that they label black. Like the only way. And that's why I'm here as Hermes, because that's the thing with Hermeticism. All right, that's the thing with Semicism. It's all about being happy alone so that you can be happy with other spirits. So Hermeticism is all about being happy alone. Hermeticism is me showing realities how we are already in heaven and we're creating this hell so that we can share our heaven. And now every reality is supposed to be super hype because it's us choosing to be in hell so that we can show how awesome we truly are when we're alone. And now the more you love yourself when you're alone, the more awesome of a collective life you're going to have when you're with others. See how that works vibrationally? And I mean, all the rich people listening to this know this. All like the high value, high status people, whatever, listening to this know this, like as a base concept. It's mainly poor people who don't get this vibrational stuff. And they don't get the idea of like, wait, I'm supposed to connect with myself and believe in my own ideas first before other people do? No, I need constant validation from the environment. I need constant help from outside of myself. See, like, this is then the difference of spirituality versus physicality. A lot of people who become rich, who are self-made millionaires, self-made just billionaires, rich people overall, they are more spiritual. Like anyone who got rich is almost always connecting with themselves, connecting with their own ideas in a way that matters, literally, more than other people. Like other people who are chaotic, they don't believe in their ideas. They're naturally doing everything I'm explaining here, right? But they have nothing to show for it. Like if I was a poor person, if I was poor boy Hermes, poor boy Hermes, if I was poor boy Hermes, instead of rich boy Thoth, I guess it should be rich man Thoth. There's a difference of air and earth. Hermes is not poor. It's hilarious because Hermes is the god of commerce. So in general, I'm money as a spirit. Like, I don't care about money because money only matters because of my simulations. Money can only exist because of the worlds that I build from the inside out. Like, your concept of money is meant to make you learn how you value the things that are clearly priceless. Like, nature is priceless. The nature that I make for you to connect on is priceless. But of course, when you're so limited in your ability to value yourself, you're going to make up a concept like money to act like you can give a price to other stuff. When in reality, you're just projecting how limited your view is. And now you feel like you can put a price on a human life. You feel like you can put a price on a tree, on an animal, on just anything you want. And when in reality, it's you being a white supremacist using made up concepts to control things outside of yourself, to breach the consent of spirits who are connecting happily outside of yourself. And this is why there's not one God. Okay, so bad things happen. Like bad things happen all the time. Okay, like it's literally this vibrational resonance thing of how much are you as a spirit connected with yourself to be able to stop or mitigate bad things from happening. Because anything that's bad, anything that's really negative that's happening is a vibrational resonance that is being created from your imagination. So whatever frequency you're riding as a spirit, whatever individual fire, whatever individual ego you have, the way you connect with that creates your water. The way you connect with that creates your soul. The way you connect with your ego, the way you connect with your imagination creates your vibration. And then that's your feeling. And that's going to be what then powers your ability to communicate your imagination. Right? So poor people, they're out here not really believing in their imagination. So when they connect with themselves, it looks like them just generally expressing it as air. So this is what I mean by poor boy Hermes. Because Hermes is so focused on air, the whole point of air is that it has nothing to show for it. Air, being the externalization of spirit, is the externalization of nothing. It makes something possible. Hermes makes Tahuti possible. Hermes does build pyramids with his air. Like the earth of a pyramid could only come out of the air that was created first. Like all the particles that settle into the structure of a pyramid had to come out of the breath out. And consistent mathematical breaths out, just based on science. So, poor people, right? They'll just connect with themselves, but not in a way that actually matters, because on the deep inside, they don't feel like their ideas matter. So they're not going to build a structure out of their ideas. Instead, they would rather just experience and live by them, versus a rich person who creates wealth. Right? It's not about consuming wealth. You literally create wealth because it's about you creating some kind of value from the inside out that spirits who are in vibrational resonance with you can then value with the energy exchange that we call money in this reality. Because everyone's minds are so colonized by money, right? Like we can't even eat food without having to spend money on it. You can't live in stolen land without having to spend money for it. You can't navigate in stolen land without having to spend money for it. You can't do anything in stolen land without having to spend money for it, because the whole point of Jews and Christians stealing this land from indigenous peoples was to enslave everyone who's born on it and make money out of everyone with all these social security numbers and just numbers in general. So today's podcast is about impermanence. Because I am in a very vulnerable state, I'm going to share what feels right after I some of these trees. Let's catch a vibe. Let's ride this wave. And let's get in touch with our true space. Yeah. Been crying, I stem on my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C. My mind's been flying wild, my soul's been crying. I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C. My soul's been crying wild, my mind's been flying so high. Through the astral plane, macabre brain, I built your game, we're not the same. My soul's been crying wild, my mind's been flying too. Relay a word, those who listen heard, we make our vibe from deep inside. My soul's been crying wild, my mind's been flying back into my space, called away with haste, so I'll fall with grace to thrill my chase. My mind's been flying wild, my soul's been crying too. Water my earth, I know my worth, my soul gives birth to all my work. My mind's been flying wild, my soul's been crying so I can't connect with those you neglect. Time to correct how we reflect. My mind's been flying wild, my soul's been crying too. Who flood the sea with energy from my inner chi? I'm free to be me. I felt to inspire you to say how to fly higher too. Fly higher too. Fly higher too. Hang out with the family in your true spot. Don't be sad if you forgot that you've got a spirit squad and you're not true to this spot. Flip a script and break the facade. Take a trip and go abroad. When you're brave, they will apply. We get in touch with your true God. I've been fighting. I've been vibing when I'm dancing with demons, reversing curses, they scheming. They be fiending for reasons to change the sins like the seasons. So I've been falling, cause y'all been calling my mind out of my spirit. I feel it best when I'm near it, but y'all cry for help and I hear it. So Hermes flies out to stare it in a new healthy direction. Will grow through natural connection. So I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C to level up like it's nothing, to turn into something, to bust into function, bumping and pumping with all the wisdom I'm gushing. And when I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C, I felt to inspire you. Simmer higher, I simmer in the skies, I triple in my chi, then I open up my eyes. I balance in my seasons. I mother the cohesion that keeps us intertwined. Balance in my seasons, and I don't need a reason to fulfill my desires. All right. Today's podcast is a vulnerable one for me, family. And the whole point of this podcast is that it's vulnerable. Synchronicity. You are the synchronicity. As a spirit, everything is coinciding inside of you because you are your ego. As far as how you experience yourself, you as a spirit create the ego to express your individuality. Thus, you're only ever going to experience your spirit as your ego. And this is the balance of then you as the ego learning how to listen and connect more with your spirit so that you can communicate in ways that allow you to actually level up and grow as an ego. Because when you are in your ego, right, when we think about people that are in their ego, right, they're not relatable. Yeah, you know, that's that phrase, like, oh, you're in your ego, you're not being relatable. Like, because the ego, the whole point, everyone's ego is so individual to them. We know that the ego is not relatable. We know the ego wants to relate, which is why it will look the same. That's why the ego will go into situations where it will act like it wants to vibe with people, but it really doesn't. Like, this is a perfect example is there is this girl at conventions. um, who, when I met her, it was so weirdly synchronistic. It was so weirdly synchronistic because I was in the middle like of an acid trip, like deep in an acid trip, in a dance like mosh pit, and this girl like just came and like grabbed me from behind and turned me around, and she recognized me from the internet, and I kind of recognized her from the internet, but I didn't like know her at all, really. She seemed like she was familiar, but it could have, who knows, like, it could have been like a past life thing, because the relationship with this girl ended up going on to be like, she wanted to be my arch nemesis, and then it turned into her actually like trying to function as my arch nemesis, and she's actually very much out there right now to this day talking shit because she wants to learn about herself based on hating me, I guess. And that's a good amount of spirit. I meet so many people, okay? I mean, like, of course, so many people want to learn about themselves by acting like they could be my arch nemesis. And it was hilarious because when she said that she was my arch nemesis, I immediately the phrase, I'm trying to think how I said it exactly. Basically, the phrase I said was specifically because I heard it earlier that night before. So it was like she said it to me in the middle of a trip when I'd already heard people say it to each other at the convention. So then when we were hanging out privately and she said it, I'm like, yeah, isn't that just a term that like people are using to relate with each other? And it was so wild because her body language like immediately closed up and she like got upset and she was like, well, no, I don't think so. And then things have progressed to where like she's very much trying to prove like I'm your arch nemesis. While also just, it's so weirdly subconscious. It's hilarious. Because that's the balance of then when you as a spirit see these things and you bring consciousness to it, people literally get to say that you're projecting, because that's how like a lot of this garbage has started, in terms of any like the issues that have come out of not only this girl but all the people that this girl's connected to, is how this girl she literally told me that she has a past of being like a super narcissistic, hyper manipulative liar, but she's destroyed so many relationships that she's learned how to not do that anymore. And then she literally used that story to lie about me and manipulate people's ideas about me. And it's a wild, and it's like, that's a whole lesson on just projection and perception. And this, any spirits, right? Because she's just an example of what like manipulative spirits do, where a spirit is a narcissist. They do manipulate things to work for them, and when they get caught, their ability to not want to change but want to connect with people wanting them to change allows them to continuously lie and manipulate. And like, that's basically it. Because like this girl, she's like, okay, well, I still want to lie to get my way. I still want to manipulate people to get my way. I still want to project out my imagination and just transform the environment with my fire in ways that serve my individual desires. So even though I've been caught, let me act like I've grown from it. Let me act like I've connected and matured. So that's the process of, let me act like I built some empathy, made water, and then communicated with myself in a way that cultivated a new life, so that I can actually keep using my fire to consume relationships and transform the environment and shine the light that I want to shine, because I want to be perceived like the star I am, type deal. I'm sure this girl has Leo in her chart. I'm actually almost positive. And I wasn't even into astrology at all when I was interacting with her, but just based on like all the logical like things that she's told me about herself, and like the way that she acts, like as far as Leo is the ultimate narcissist energy. Like Leo in general is about all eyes on me. Leo in general is, I am the center of the stage. Everyone's looking at me. Everyone is entertained by me. I'm the most attractive person, and I need to feel like that. So if you Like, Leos get the most insecure, Leos get the most flunked out when they don't feel attractive. And I mean, everyone does. That's kind of why everyone has these zodiac elements. That's why we can talk about zodiac signs like this. It's just then when you look at your actual chart, which ones are you more in resonance with? Like with my Virgo being in my moon, or my moon being in Virgo, that's where I resonate a lot with hyper analytical details and like constantly analyzing the past to like create a new future, and like making all these tiny connections. Like that's how my costumes have like blown up, or just like I've made the costumes that I do and like continuously make my creations. That's how I build simulations, as symmetry. It's all very finely, highly detailed work of making sure all these little things connect. And then, of course, white supremacist scientists get born into the simulation, where then they create science, where they're dissecting all these things that naturally connect because they think they're smart for cutting up what was already working. Let's do surgery. I'm so intelligent. See, like that's that fire. It's that ego. So spirits' desire to be smart makes them destroy the environment. Spirits' desire to be seen makes them destroy the environment, or transform their circumstances. Or just, destroy relationships in that case. And that's where, for them, they don't think that they're destroying the relationship at the time. They think that they're building, but that's the essence of a lie. Like, when lies are so unsustainable, you can't actually have a relationship like that. Like, you can't build any relationship on lies, really. It's just not it. It's not it. Then, of course, the balance is knowing that life is a lie. So this is what I've had to learn and reflect upon. This is what we're getting into with right now being Scorpio season. So during this Scorpio season, Scorpio being fixed water. So Leo is fixed fire. Leo being fixed fire, it's about, hey, I have my imagination. It's not going anywhere. It's not moving anywhere. It's going to be right here. And I'm going to keep spreading it, actually, from right here at this point. Scorpio is, I'm going to connect with my imagination. I'm going to connect. And I'm going to connect right here. And I'm going to keep connecting right here to the point where I'm actually going to be immovable as water. So I'm now going to turn into ice as water. And this is where I'm going to be cold. And this is where I'm going to hurt the people around me. This is what Scorpio is. So Scorpio season in general is a lot of that energy. Scorpio as a energy, as a sign, being fixed water, it's like a glacier, right? It's like something that literally sinks the Titanic. That's gnarly. I'm glad I'm talking this out right now.